Hello, welcome to another edition of Monday's Workbench. This week is question and answers. We've got a lot of response, a lot of questions, and kind of excited to give you some of our answers and share with you the questions. We got some repeats, some of the same concepts. We're going to try to kind of push them together. Garrett's going to answer or ask and answer some of the questions that kind of relate to him, and I'm going to answer and ask some of the questions as well. Yeah, we're pretty excited to tell you about all this, and if we don't get to your question this week, we'll try to get to you next week and throughout the rest of our channel. So some of them are such a good topic that we'll probably end up doing some videos on it and a little more in depth of the answers. So starting off here, A. Woodrum. How often does Garrett get a new top end on his 4-strokes because he rides the tire out of that 250? Well, that's a good question. We mostly keep an eye on the valves, make sure they're in check. And then the top ends were about 100 hours, 120. And actually, we are lucky enough that we get a new bike before we put a top end. So usually our bikes have close to 80 or 90 hours on them when we get rid of them. So we actually haven't done any top ends on these bikes. I've done them on a 450 before that we had. That was a little bit of a project, but I think I've had a couple of our friends they've got over like 150 hours on their top end. There is plenty of preventive maintenance to do on these, and I think the valve clearances are the important part. So what do you have, Garrett?
Rick Pearson said, how do you keep from having oil spill drop out of the filter once installed on the bike? Well, we usually
after you wring it all out, and I think that's what he's saying is it's still dripping out once it's even installed on the bike. So before we put it on the bike, we use a sacrificial blue shop towel and get all of that oil off of that filter. And then we let it set, we let that thing set overnight, and then it gets installed. Like I talked about in one of our videos, we put them in a plastic bag and leave the bag open and kind of let them breathe and air out, and they kind of, some of that, the chemicals in there kind of get a little gummy and then loose, kind of, that's what helps us stick the oil onto that filter. It's happened to us where we put too much oil and then it's dripped out the air box. I'd rather have a little too much than not enough. So Kevin Foster asked, how did we get Carissa involved in being interested in going to the track? I think that comment actually was elaborated that even now she, is dating another quad racer, Dalton Keys. And we, over the years, have developed relationships with people. And it was always important for us to keep the whole family involved, even though Carissa wasn't a racer. And I asked her, how did we keep her motivated to go into the track? And, her answer was, I really didn't think I had a choice. But we know that she actually wanted to go and see our friends and family that, attend the track and stuff. And, just the environment in general, camping out, motor home, outside, tromping through the woods. And, we've kept her motivated by that, and now she, obviously goes all over the place with us and with the Keys to the tracks, and she enjoys it. I think we probably didn't give her much of a choice in the beginning, but I think that that was just what we were doing. So she came along with us, and it's still excited to come even today. If she's not able to attend our race, she's checking live scoring and texting, wanting to know where Garrett is. He hadn't checked in, and we have to explain that he's probably not getting scored, and we have him. He's fine. He's still moving. So anyway, we'd be glad to talk to you more about that, and we just keep it fun and keep the family together. With this racing, we know that our kids aren't but a couple of campfires away and having good, clean family fun. What do you got, Garrett?
Stilt says, what goals do you have for racing in the future? I plan on probably riding as much as I can, racing. Probably in the future go to B or A, and hopefully go pro someday. Dead.
Good deal. Justin Grounds asked, what all uses can you use a wire tie for? Well, zip tie, we can repair a complete back fender if we have to in the spur of a moment with a drill bit and some zip ties. To add into that, like safety wire, we use safety wire a lot for our grips, and we safety wire our plastic too. And I'll actually probably come up with a video on some of that we always break a little tab off or something, and I end up drilling a hole and safety wiring the plastic back together because maybe I don't have another piece of plastic, or it would be so insignificant that no one would ever see it. But most of my bikes and Garrett's bike have some sort of zip tie or safety wire on it. So yeah, we've utilized that, and that we've done all kinds of stuff with that zip tie and the safety wire.
Logan Smith said, what is your favorite race of the year? My favorite race probably is King of the Mountain, which is next weekend at IXCR Racing Series. That's pretty fun. I feel like I do pretty good there every year, and just like the track.
Yeah, that's exciting. I'm excited about the King of the Mountain. I've got a lot of favorite tracks. This one's definitely up on the list. Looking forward to that. Chandler and Mike, they asked about what do we do for race prep in terms of health and food and fitness. Hunter Maddox also asked about a pre-race checklist. Tanner Goff asked about a pre- and post-race routine. And so let's talk a little bit about, I'm going to talk to Garrett about that too. As far as like a race prep, we believe a lot in hydration. Like on Thursday, Garrett will typically drink a gallon of water. I'll try to drink as much water as I can too. And also on Friday, he'll probably drink maybe not quite a gallon, and then Saturday probably finish off that gallon. So probably 2 gallons before he starts racing, and that's starting on a Thursday. We try not to eat real heavy before the race. I typically try to get a couple oranges in me, and definitely a banana to help out with the cramps. You want to talk about a little bit what you do through the week for your fitness?
Starting this summer, I'm going to try to bike at least once or twice a week on road bike. Probably ride once a week, and at least try to get to the gym every day. And yeah.
What did you do over the winter for your fitness prep?
I went to the Y right after school and worked out for a little bit, and then I'd go home, relax for a little bit, and then go to track at IU. So I'd go run for a couple of miles every night, and that was Monday through Thursday. So that was a long couple of months. So glad I'm here.
Yeah. Hunter Maddox also asked, what do you do before heading to the track, and what do you do at the track as far as a mud or a dusty race. Typically, we get to the track on Friday night, take a look at where the starting line is, try to prepare on, where we're going to pit at. We like to be somewhere after the finish. We don't necessarily have to park where we're going to pit at. We'll set up a table, maybe share it with Nathan Smith or somebody. That way, my dad and I can help Garrett, give him water, goggles, or gloves, or whatever, depending on the conditions. As far as once we decide, is it going to be muddy or dusty? Well, we do run filter skins on our air filters. That's a little thing that goes over the filter, and we have a string tied to it, and if it's a super dusty race, we can pull that string, and then that filter, little pre-filter, comes off, and it's like having a brand new filter on it. That's in the super, super dusty races. If it's real muddy, we oil up the air filter real good, and then our main concern is keeping our radiators clear and clean. We run some just pet screen that goes on like your screen doors, and we tape those on. We also zip tie those on sometimes and make little tabs out of tape so you can rip those off if your bike's steaming and you're going slow and falling down and not getting much air, and then the mud's packing up in there. That will preserve your bike until they get so packed up, then you have no choice but to take that off. And that's helped us out a lot, especially with all these mudders that we've had. Tanner asked similar pre and post race routines. Post race, try to look over the bike, see what we've done.
Drink a bunch of water afterwards. And Monday we're recovering and, cleaning our bikes up, getting ready to put stuff on the workbench. So, what do you do on your pre-race routine? What do you do to get yourself ready? I usually just drink a bunch of water. I usually think, drink now and you don't need it later, because once you need it, it's already too late whenever you're in the race. So I like to drink a bunch of water before and after, and sometimes during if it's a hot race. Usually like to keep the meals kind of light, I don't actually eat before my race, so that I'm not like heavy and stomach gets messed up.
So do you ever listen to music, or just kind of take your own time, just being by yourself, getting ready?
I usually like to kind of chill out for 30 minutes, kind of just relax and focus on, the race instead of like what you're doing after the race or schoolwork and stuff. So yeah.
What questions you got there?
424 Camp Lost, as always. Ryan Oliver, do you start in neutral or start in gear? I start in neutral in the 250s because they're not very good at starting in gear. Usually it's like 3 or 4 kicks in first gear before it finally starts. So I usually just start in neutral, and it usually fires first kick.
Yeah, I've seen videos where Caleb Russell starts in neutral, and he's pretty efficient at his starts. So I used to be real big on starting in gear, and I've kicked, of course now my bike's electric start. I've started in neutral several times with it, because that little bit of hesitation and that uncertainty of whether the bike's going to start or not in gear, is not worth risking it when it's going to start in neutral, and then you can shift it in first or second, whatever you want, real quick, and then you know, even though you may not be the first guy, you're still pretty good in the pack. So, what other questions you got, Bubby?
Caden Spires and Mike Brown said, what would you say to help out racers that are just starting and beginning? I usually would, if I was teaching some beginner, I would just tell them to try to do something that's hard and just keep on at it until you either master the log or hill, or you gotta never give up, and you'll eventually, get good and liking riding dirt bikes. It's always fun to mess around and do something that you can't and try to learn how to ride.
I can't remember who asked this question. I'll look it up, but someone asked a question about sometimes you get to start in the front row, and you end up, sometimes you're the first or second or third guy through on the track, and it's not been ridden yet. For example, like at a crossroads, and they kind of asked, how do you keep on pace and how do you stay on the trail, even if you eventually end up becoming in the lead? And what do you do now as far as managing your race throughout that hour and a half time frame so that you don't wear yourself out or get too gassed out in the beginning?
I don't ride 100% on the first lap, especially on the first lap, but if I feel like I'm going to be the first or a couple of guys that are first through the section, I usually like to pay attention to the arrows is key. You kind of think that the track is going to go this way, so you got to kind of go that way and then look for the arrows to see if the arrows go that way, or you always got to follow the arrows because the arrows are it's supposed to point you where to go. So I usually look at the arrows first and then see where it would look like the track would go that way. I usually go that way, and you always have to pay attention because if you go the wrong way, you have to go the turn around and try to get back on course because you'll get docked if you cut half the track off. So you got to be careful.
All right. Well, wrapping this up, I think along with those lines, you ran 2 years of Super Minis, and those situations you were probably one of the first couple guys on the track too, even though it wasn't quite as big. I think that's helped you out too. Hey, I thank everyone for tuning in to our channel. Keep firing us some questions. If I didn't get to your question, if Gary didn't get to your question, comment. Let us know what other questions we need to expand on. We still have everyone's question. We're going to try to answer those as we put out more episodes. And also, some of the questions that we didn't get to, we're going to create some videos on them. And we've got a pretty good crew following us, and we appreciate all your comments. And we'll see you at the IXCR King of the Mountain. So thanks for watching.
Show us your tips.